Welcome to the Nick and Matt Show. Bringing the player interviews you want to hear and the hot topics you want to discuss. Streaming live on the Foundation Podcast YouTube channel, here's Nick and Matt.
But we have none other than Paul Mcbeth.
Yeah, that's right.
Live?
Yeah, so
You are live.
Yeah, and I got to change real quick. He's live, but I have to change. It says Nick Carl, so we got to
Right now,
change it
you're
from
Nick
Nick
Carl, by the way. And I'm you, which means the keys to your vehicle that's outside right now, I'm going to need those.
All right.
Paul, how are you? While he's changing everything.
There, we're good now.
I'm good. I wasn't expecting it to be this hot out here right now. That's for sure.
Yeah, I know, right?
Super hot. A lot of stuff's going down. Let's just get right into it. We've got our largest audience ever, and large thanks, obviously, to you and your performance at Worlds. I will say, in everything you've done for the sport, shout out to your Disc Golf Foundation. That's been doing awesome things as well. Real quick, before we get into Worlds, I think there was an announcement. You have another course already set to go to. Do you know what that is or where that is?
Oh, yes, for the foundation.
Yeah.
Yes. We have two. So first one is in Guatemala, Antigua. I don't know which one's first, but we announced two. So Guatemala and then Medellin, Colombia. So we got two coming up. I won't be there for the installation of the projects, but I will. The goal is to get out there this winter and go and check them out and probably do some clinics and just, reintroduce disc golf. Once the courses are in. So I'm excited about that. I'm looking forward to it. I hear Nick popping a bag of jerky. I brought him some.
This is the new
the foundation or the Paul Mcbeth Foundation.
Oh, right.
Bags of jerky with Double G craft jerky.
the new Paul Mcbeth signature. This is the McBeast barbecue style.
Yeah, let me know how it is.
It's delicious. I've already had a few.
Yeah, that's the only flavor of jerky I haven't tried yet from them, so I'm definitely going to go out and order some. So shout out for that as well.
It's really good. They sent me a bunch of samples to try.
It makes for a great dinner.
That was the one I liked the most out of all the new flavors that they're experimenting with.
Okay. That's a huge shout out to them. I think people need to go check out Double G Craft Jerky. I was enjoying some before the show, but go find the Paul Mcbeth Foundation. That will support there. So let's get right into it.
You're also, really quick, you're also wearing some really cool Paul Mcbeth Foundation gear. Where can we find that?
I don't know if it's out yet, but it will be paulmcbethfoundation.org. And it's actually, it's I guess, sent out here from Foundation Disc Golf. So That's where we are right now. So I just actually took some and they opened up the box. So
if you can't really see it on the camera, it's a snapback. It's a trucker hat, right?
Yeah.
With the white Paul Mcbeth Foundation logo on it. And then the shirt itself, that's the new dry fits one.
Yeah, it's actually really comfortable. I was surprised when I have these little shoulder vents right here, which are nice. And sorry, I keep looking to the left because Nick's right there. So I'm used to talking to him.
Yeah, don't look my way.
All right. That's funny. Yeah, so we're trying to do all this techie stuff, and here we are, the Nick and Matt Show, trying to do things on a large level, like Disc Golf Network. But here we go. Your performance during the final round of the World Championships was nearly good enough, and I don't have to tell you, to walk away with your 6th world title. Can you walk us through your perspective on how the final hole played out from your perspective?
Yeah, I could walk you through the final round or the final hole. You want to go final hole first?
If you give it all to us. How about that?
All right. I'll go. So, yeah, I'll go back because we were battling the whole time. I know I built up a little lead before the par 5, hole 9. Made a really big mistake on my drive there, and then it was a real ball game heading into the back 9. I only had a 1-stroke lead at that point, but I felt like the momentum really shifted on hole 13 when I hit that big putt. James had laid up right in front of me. I hit that like 45, 50 footer on the elevated basket with the OB right behind it. That's kind of where I felt like, all right, if I want to win this tournament, this is the one I need to make right here, and just fully committed and knock that one down. And then it was just who's going to make the next mistake. And James and I ended up birding 14, 15, 16, 17. And then we got to the last hole, and I threw my drive pretty much perfect. I think the only other spot I'd like to be is where Calvin was, but kept it in bounds. And James he didn't throw a good drive. He had that extremely far right, hit the tree and kicked back almost into the water. And if he kicked into the water, then it was game over, because the best he could have done was a par, because the drop zone's a little bit too far for a throw in. Well, no, I think he would have to take it from the water. I'm not sure how the ruling is there. And then he didn't throw a great upshot from there. So as soon as I saw where his upshot was, I thought it was pretty much over. I said, all I got to do is get up past the mandatory drop zone, and then it was just a little pitch up with my zone from there, and I'd be the 2021 world champion. But it's kind of one of those things to where I've just looked back at it so many different times, to where I think if James threw a great drive and he was looking at a birdie, I would have easily made the choice to go for it. And that would have been, if I wouldn't have converted the shot, then I would have lost, to where it feels more like James kind of took it. He threw the drive that wasn't that great. He threw the upshot that wasn't that great. And then he just threw the greatest shot that's ever happened in disc golf. So, the way that I look at it is kind of like he just played the strategy perfectly. He kind of took away me even thinking about going for it with the 2 shots prior to that. So it's just, I don't know. I think there's lessons to be learned too for myself, because I kind of let that carry over into the playoff, to where I should have just realized, like, I'm still in the driver's seat. I've still been making all the right shots. Even after he put his shot on the island, I still should have been able to convert that, but just gave it a little too much.
Yeah, so I just want to follow it up by saying, because I thought I heard you say this in your response here, had James outdrove you on hole 18's tee, so meaning like you would have been throwing first. Would you have went for it?
Even if he threw, like, let's say his drive wasn't better than mine, but his upshot was only 100 feet away. Like, even if he threw it within, 150 feet, I would have felt like I still would have had to go for it, because that's very makeable. Very, very makeable. I think the 2 shots he threw, I feel like that's the only way I lay up in that situation and not be guaranteed the win. To where if he lays it, like, he throws that shot and then he goes for it from there and goes out of bounds, then I'm guaranteed layup. Any other situation, I think this is the only way it plays out, to where he wins in that moment and throws it in. Because I don't know. I don't know any others. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so what you're saying, and just to be clear again, had you thrown, if you were the first one to throw your shot, meaning after the drives, you would have
guaranteed.
You would have went for it. Yeah, okay.
Guaranteed. Yeah, I would have to.
Right. Yeah.
So, even if his layup was better, even if his layup like made it past the mandatory, to where he had less than 200 feet of any sort, I felt like I would have had to go for it still, because he can throw it in, So I just felt like he still had to throw an Anheuser around the mandatory. He still had to shape it really well. But yeah, that hole kind of set up for that. I didn't love the hole to begin with, but I think it kind of set up for this kind of finish.
I saw a meme online, and it was Doctor Strange talking to Iron Man in Avengers Infinity War, when Doctor Strange looks into the future and he sees, the billions of different scenarios, and then what is the one scenario that wins? And someone posted a meme, and it was, I think that's exactly what you're talking about, that is literally the one scenario that James Conrad hits that shot, to where if his drive was picture perfect, he he throws before you on his upshot, he gets to the green, then you go for it, and you were already 2 for 2 on that hole.
Yeah.
So like, you had thrown that upshot well. You had a good drive. You had a great, I'm assuming you went forehand
Yep.
on that hole. And I think the way it played out, that was the one scenario where it does play out like that, which is wild.
Yeah, I mean, he took away my only chance of trying to hold on to the tournament, because he was, his drive was so poor after hitting that tree, and then the upshot, to where I didn't even have to think about going for it, because I didn't think that throwing that in was possible.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, it's wild how it played out. But it was incredible shot, and I'm happy for James. He had a lot to prove this year, especially with his manufacturer switch and all that stuff, to where I actually sent him a message, and and looked back at some messages that I sent him, because I did switch manufacturers in 2019 and he did in 2020, or 2021, 20, I don't know, whatever the years we're in.
Yeah.
But I just sent him a message and just said, like, you got to forget everything you've ever learned before, because it's only going to hurt you. And it kind of, he kind of was just thankful for that. And I don't know if it played any part in this event, but just to know that he was able to do this first year was pretty awesome.
So James throws that shot, it goes in, and then in your head, okay, we're going to a playoff. Because at this point, are there any thoughts that you're running that after your second shot, are you running your up shot at all?
Well, I put my first layup, pretty much right where I wanted, to a spot where I knew I'm just going to hyzer my zone right up there and have at most 20 feet. So I didn't have any doubt that shot wasn't going to happen, or it wasn't going to work. But I mean, definitely the fun thought of like, wow, I could follow that up and throw it in myself. But I knew a par would keep me in it, to where if I tried to throw it in and did something stupid, it wouldn't have looked too good. So just went with the smart play and put it under the basket and took the par and went to the playoff. It's kind of, I wasn't thrilled that it went straight to an island hole, because I kind of was going to take away any drama and any safety. It was kind of just like, all right, if someone misses it, it's over.
So that's kind of where I was just about to get at. There were two different questions that I had. Your 2014 World Championships, when you went into a playoff against Ricky, did you guys start on hole 1? How did that work?
Yeah, well, 18 ended right next to 1, so we went and started on hole 1, and then we were just going to play the whole course through until we had a winner. So
I'm curious what people in the chat, or even people listening to this post, what would you guys rather? Go to an island hole like they did at the World Championships, or back in 2014 they go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and just play the course until it's over? Well,
even I think USDGC, we started on 18, then went 1, 17, 18, 1, 17 until there was a winner. Yeah. So it started with a par 4.
Okay. People are getting back on that, they're going to give their answers there. Before we move right into that playoff conversation, because that's a whole topic as well. Some of us have seen the camera reaction. Jomez had a few, live coverage had a little bit. Can you tell us, in that moment when the disc hit the chains, like, was there confusion? Was there like awestruck? What were your immediate feelings when you saw that disc go in? Disbelief? Like, how would you describe it?
Well, I didn't actually see it really go in. Like, you couldn't hear the chains or anything because people were screaming before it was even in, like go in and stuff like that. So from where I was, I didn't actually see it go in because he was still a little bit around the corner. And when I heard the screams, I looked over to James and his arms were up, and I was like, there's no way that just went in. Like, I knew there was a chance, because he threw it high enough, but I thought he actually threw it way long. He just, it was incredible to see. It sucks that I was the one that lost to it, but I think it's better for the sport, seeing how much it's especially blown up on social media. But it was an incredible shot, and I was just, my jaw dropped like everyone else's.
Yeah, and so as follow-up, you actually just led right into this question. You said it sucks to be on the losing end of it. Some are calling this one of the most clutch moments across, and they're not even limiting it, some people, to all they're saying all sports, not even limiting to just disc golf. It depends on how you classify the moment and the pressure, obviously. You yourself have said in your Instagram post, greatest shot in disc golf history. Can you tell me how does it feel losing to a shot, or losing to a shot like this? Meaning, like, does it feel different? As you said a minute ago, it was kind of taken away as opposed to you losing it. Like, what's the difference in the feels from all of your losses?
Well, I know I didn't lose to the shot. I lost in the playoff, but that was, it was something that I felt like I'm winning this tournament, especially after his 2 shots before that one, went in. So, I don't think I lost to the shot, but it was just, it's history in disc golf, and it could be one of the greatest sports, or the greatest moment in sports history. Given the circumstances, where it was at, what happened prior to that. We birdied 4 or 5 in a row before that, and just him and I back and forth. And it was a big shot, and it was did you ask how like the losing part? Sorry.
Generally, it was just like, yeah, I did say to that shot you lost, but I guess generally the whole feeling surrounding this, you walked away from the day knowing that you didn't win.
Yeah.
Is it a different feeling than you've experienced before because of how it went down?
Well, yeah, this one definitely hurt the most out of any of them, because I did feel like, you know, I was less than 200 feet away from winning the world championship. And I mean, if you even look at after my drive, I was in the perfect position to win, but how it went down, I wasn't even given a chance to try to win it. You know, he threw his bad second shot to where I'm like, all right, I just won. He's got to throw around this mandatory tree and carry it all the way over, and we're at elevation, so turnover is not an easy shot. Like that's probably the hardest shot to throw out there, is that big turnover, because every disc you have wants to flex out so much faster. So it was I just didn't feel like I had an opportunity to win it after I'd laid up, to where normally I feel like, you know, he throws a better upshot, he throws a better drive, I still have a chance to win it and solidify it and get up and down for a birdie. But this one, I mean, I'm pretty much helpless. Like I couldn't do anything else.
It's still kind of like I replaying it in my head in such a crazy moment that happened. But I guess kind of going into it after that shot, now you walk up to hole 16. There's, you know, a couple minutes break. You guys have to check scores and everything like that. And then one of the guys announcing everyone's names tells everyone in the crowd, we have a playoff. And in that moment, everyone is just kind of like, rush to 16, get to 16, get the best view of everything. And now you got over 1,000 people easily just rushing over to 16. You and James are walking up in this situation. And I think you teed first in the 2014 playoff, right? You were the first one to tee every single time.
Well, I had the hot round.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. So now you're stepping up to hole 16 in this playoff. Would you have preferred to throw first? Like, where is the mindset of you right now?
Well, in that moment, and what I think I took away from it the most is that, you know, I feel like, all right, I kind of put James in the driver's seat. Basically, I let James depict what was going to happen, to where I knew, like, I should have just stepped up to that and been like, I've been throwing all my shots great. I didn't make a mistake on 18. I laid it up perfectly. I threw my third shot perfectly, made the putt right on the pole, and every hole prior to that was pretty much ideal. And then, you know, I kind of just let some doubt into my head, to where, all right, James just put on the island. I need to match him, to where I didn't have to match him at all. Like I had been putting that pressure on James and everyone else the whole time, to where I just needed to continue to play how I was that round. And I just kind of turned it into a match play, which I shouldn't have done that. I felt like I had to do better than what he just did. And I just juiced it too much, to where I just really needed to put on the island. And that's probably the only mistake I feel like I really made there. And I just need to know that in the future, to where if I'm ever in that situation, I need to just keep playing how I was and not try to change anything. To where I think if we went like to 16 immediately after the round, it might have been a little different. But once we had the break and stuff, it was only like 10 minutes, but still enough to like just get out of that mindset of what, like, you know, how the round was going before that. I had time to think about that shot and what am I going to do? Like, I don't know. I just felt like there was too much time in between that and restarting. And then on top of it being the island hole, to where kind of took away any kind of drama or I guess, you know, if we were playing a par 4, you can actually redeem a bad shot at least a little bit and try to make a miracle happen.
Yeah, exactly. And I think what's crazy is people going into checking out the stats and everything like this, you had birdied the hole all 3 times that you played the hole.
Yeah, the island.
The only person who did better in the tournament at that hole was James Conrad, because in round, for you guys, it would have been round 2 when you played the fort. James had actually aced that hole. So he played the hole pretty much better than perfection.
Yeah, and when he aced it, I was standing on 18, right where I was when I won when I laid up. So he actually aced it when I was standing in that exact spot on 18, day 2.
Holy
yeah,
chills.
So that As I'm speaking here, I'm sorry, we have a lot going on. James Conrad actually just sent me a text message, and I'm like, wow, okay, so we've got this going live, and James is texting me. So, okay, back to this though. Is there anything you practiced during hole 16? Like Nick says, you birdied every single round. You practiced that shot. Had you ever practiced a backhand with maybe a putter, or did you just determine, obviously, your highest percentage shot was with that forehand?
Well, yeah, I think the highest percentage is with the forehand. One, because you're throwing an overstable disc, so it's not going to get affected by the wind too much. And when you throw the backhand, you bring that tree into play. You know, with the forehand, if you hit the trees, it was going to be long anyways. It was going to be in the water, to where you kind of had to throw it perfectly. And James, if he threw a forehand, he probably would have thrown a forehand there. But yeah, one funny thing about that course and that hole actually is, for some reason, they put their turf pads in backwards, to where you're throwing with the grain instead of against it. And I just had a slight slip there, and I just juiced it, realizing I'm slipping a little bit, I'm going to lose some power, and just juiced it more than I had previous rounds, to where when I saw it on video, it could have had a chance to stop, but I needed to land it about 10 feet shorter of where it hit. But no, as far as the backhand, I threw it once, but the forehand was just a lot easier for me.
All right. That's, in my opinion, that's a lot of the questions that people had. I'm trying to look and see if anything else is coming in here in the chats that, I don't want to say is worth asking, but we asked you a lot already about your performance. Is there anything that we missed that you think was important to how the performance went down, like that we haven't talked about, that you're like, that's actually a big deal?
Nothing in a positive light. I think you guys might have already talked about it. I don't know. I didn't get a chance to listen before, but just this world's just kind of lackluster in a lot of ways. I think James definitely, James and I guess I should say, we definitely, there was a lot of players, but we brought a lot of excitement playing this Worlds, but I don't think there's a single person that would have been like, yeah, let's go back to Utah and play Worlds, because these courses were just kind of,
okay. That's funny you say that, because that was actually going to be my next question. And I think it's funny to say, but the woes of Worlds instantly was forgotten when Conrad threw his shot in. It's actually incredible, because you're not wrong. Obviously, the way it was playing out leading up to the event and through a portion of the event was significant feedback and pushback to the PDGA. You remained pretty silent on that across social media, at least. Other pros announced their issues. Did you have issues, or were you purposely remaining quiet because you were just trying to be so focused?
No, I was purposely being quiet about it, because the reasons were, this is the first world title that a lot of disc golfers and fans of disc golf are going to see. It's the first one. The explosion happened during COVID, and we didn't have a world championship during that. So I knew that there's going to be a lot of new people watching. This is their world championship, and I don't want it to be spoiled with drama and filled with drama, especially coming from me, and using, my kind of platform that I do have in doing so. So I just wanted them to be able to watch the disc golf and enjoy it, and keep the drama, at least, or, the negativity, at least after the event, and not during it and spoil it. So I did keep quiet for that. And when people would ask, like, why aren't you talking about this? It's more like, I wanted to earn my stage to do it, and I was a couple shots away from doing that. But I did keep quiet intentionally. And I did send my event feedback to the PDGA or whoever it goes to. And I got a response from them already, but just kind of didn't want to put that out there, because I knew it was, the first for so many.
I think that's really respectful.
Yeah, I think one of the things is there were issues surrounding this Worlds. A majority of players, like you said, definitely had issues with different parts of it, and I kind of liked your stance on, as in, you didn't want to let people know about it during the tournament, because that, creates unnecessary drama, in a sense, like you said, with the platform that you have. But then at the same time, being able to earn that stage, had you won the tournament, then it kind of gives you this big platform. I can go out now afterwards, I can talk about it. But the thing is that there's going to be so many people, the fact that, you ended up not winning the tournament, if you go and talk about it, people are going to say, well, he's just whining about, this, and that, and that's why he lost world championships. When it's really coming from someone who obviously was not in contention nearly to win the world championships, but could notice the feelings that a lot of pros were having. And I think one of the biggest issues that I had with it was the inconsistency on tee pads. Like you were just saying, 16 and 17 both had turf tee pads put in that were backwards. Avery Jenkins, who does all the course designing with Disc Golf Park, had even said, and they use turf tee pads. He said, look, this is wrong. This is not how they're supposed to be made. Yeah. And so there are multiple people dealing with that. And then now we jump over to, let's say, hole 18 at Mulligan's. It's a short shot, but the tee pad, if for people who are watching, the tee pad is just straight uphill. Like it's not consistent, and it's not up to a standard that should be at the World Championships.
My favorite one is hole 18 at Fort.
Yeah,
it's literally 3 like driving range golf tees, like the little turf squares put together.
Really bad ones, like really old and moldy ones put together.
And they were just like sponges.
Yeah,
it was awful.
Can I?
It's definitely something that. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, there was a lot surrounding this, and I don't know how much you want to get into any of it, but like. I have two of the significant issues. Obviously, there was OB lines and all that. I think my first question, it can be a yes or no, or you can elaborate. Is it normal for a course location, or let's just make it even more specific, a PDGA major, to have a warm-up location that actually extends to full throws into a field? Is that normal?
Well, I guess I shouldn't say normal. But if they have a driving range, then yeah, it's normal. Like if they have a driving range or if they have an area, like someone brought up, I think it might have been the PDJ. They're like, MVP doesn't have one, or Ledgestone, or what was the other, some other Memorial, Fountain Hills. And I'm like, well, Fountain Hills has a golf or like 3 soccer fields, like 2 minutes from it. That's where everyone warms up. MVP has a course right across the street that everyone warms up at. Ledgestone has another course or, a huge field across the street from the course that we play. So it was like, who says that? I was it just blew me away that they said that, and I put it in an Old Two World article. So, yeah, I mean, it is kind of normal to have some of it. And when you reserve the driving range the way that they did, we weren't even allowed because golfers were still hitting golf balls on the driving range. So they're like, yeah, you can throw into the net of the golf range and you can putt near the tee area, but you can't actually throw your disc or air it out. Is the words that they used. So it was just it was wild. And then the Fort didn't even have, like, they had like a super small course, and they had some baseball fields over there that could have been used, but I just went to the golf course every day, and once they paid for the driving range, I just warmed up there because it was less than 15 minutes from the actual course.
Did you end up using the driving range for your warm-ups? Did you end up using the full driving range, you yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I used it each day, except for the final day because we weren't at Mulligan, so it was just a golf driving range at that point. So the final day I had to go find a random field to go throw in. But yeah, the first 4 days I used the driving range.
Cool.
Yeah, it was definitely... I would say issue after issue coming up with the PDGA, and the PDGA kind of being silent on a lot of these issues that were happening, but not really to kind of like, we said kind of early on, we don't want to be like a TMZ acting podcast right now. We don't want to just bash everything that's going on with it. An incredible thing happened at the World Championships. We really can't take that away. But at the same time, there needs to be more of a standard set up when vetting events, vetting courses and everything like that. And there has to be, like, the people in the PDGA who are the ones kind of like checking out these events and everything like that, you got to think of it like you're the actual pro disc golfer that's on these events, because if any one of them kind of, I would say, had a clue at what playing at that level is like, they would have noticed that, look, this is really wrong in a lot of different ways. And
well, I mean, not even the players too. Like at Mulligan's, I felt bad for the fans because 1, it was like 100 degrees, and 2, there was only 2 bathrooms on the entire course. Like I can't imagine being a spectator walking around and just, staying hydrated and having to use the bathroom one time. And you just got to leave the whole course to go to the bathroom because there's just 2 on the thing. So you just miss a bunch of action. So it kind of was like, I don't know. It seemed like I felt bad for a lot of the fans too, because even at the Fort, they weren't allowed at a lot of the holes.
Yeah. So, man, there was so much surrounding this, and I appreciate your time so much. So This is kind of a two-partish question. So if I remember correctly, there was a time, and maybe I'm putting words in your mouth, correct me if I'm wrong, you boycotted the PDGA. I think it was, and maybe not like a verbal way, but Green Mountain Championships. I think it had to do with some disciplinary actions for players or something, and you withdrew from an event. Do you feel like a scenario or the way that Worlds was unfolding in your eyes would be another situation, or is it a tide to turn where you would do that again?
Well, I think there's some conversations being had with some people about something, not necessarily boycotting it, but just being like, these things need to change, or like things aren't going to grow, you know? So, but yeah, there was a thing that happened like that at Smuggler's Notch for the GMC, but luckily got figured out prior to the event starting. But I could definitely see this being as either a wake up call for the PDGA, or some things are going to happen to where players and events move on from, you know, possibly the PDGA, because clearly people watch tournaments because of the, you know, they're either fans of disc golf, love the courses, love the coverage, but I can tell you they're not watching because it's a PDGA event. So,
yeah, I think one of the things that we can say on top of that is, we said this earlier, shout out to the Disc Golf Network and the guys and the girls going out and commentating every single day, running the camera crews and everything like that. And I kind of want to thank their fearless leader in Jeff Spring, who's the CEO of the Disc Golf Pro Tour. What that guy does for the professional players on tour, he goes above and beyond. Any chance that he can get any opinions that are voiced against what's happening at an event, Jeff Spring almost immediately is there to answer and there to help out in any way he can. So for the Disc Golf Pro Tour, the Disc Golf Network, and all of them, professional players appreciate you. The fans appreciate you with everything that you're doing. And like Paul just said, we're not watching it because we want to see what they rated at the end of the round. We're watching live to see what spectacular things can happen in this tournament.
Yeah.
And I think that is some sort of area that, you know, is potential. The Pro Tour, do they split away from the PDGA and kind of run their own thing? Like what are we gaining from the PDGA? And I can take this. This is my own personal opinion.
I'm not getting in on this.
No. I'm saying this is my own personal opinion. But I think the PDGA hurt the Worlds this year more than helped it. And that's
so,
what I'll say about that.
Let me ask it this way. Do you have any positive ideas, Paul, as the biggest face ambassador for the sport? What practical steps do you think could be taken so that players' standards and expectations are met, let's say at least 99% of the time? Do you have any thoughts how this can get better for the future? Meaning, like, they've hired recently someone for the ground, right? An events, I don't want to call him coordinator, but like, is there like some checklist they can go through? Is it that simple? Do you have any like thoughts that could help with this?
Well, I mean, from what I heard just about like Worlds, is they would award bids before they ever saw courses. Like that's mind blowing to me. Like, how are you going to award a bid to some city that might not even have a course, but they say they're going to have a course and they say it's going to be good. Like, just knowing that, like that blew my mind. So I think there's a lot of things that they can do. This is just for Worlds, but a lot of things that they could do better that'll make the events better for players, spectators, and just, you know, overall coverage of disc golf. So I'm sure they're going to get to the drawing boards, or I hope they get to the drawing boards soon on it, because we already know where Worlds is going to be next year, but the bid probably for 2023 is probably coming up here soon. So hopefully they can get working on that quick. And I don't know how much control the PDJ has over the World Championships, because they own that title. So they could be fully in charge of it for all I know. And it's just a host club that sets up the course and stuff like that. But there needs to be something that's more in control. Either they need to take it over or let someone else be in control of that, because it was a mess. Yeah.
Okay. All of that being said, though, I do want to end on thank you to you as the consummate professional you are. Tremendous show. My opinion here only matters as much as the other fans' opinions, but I thought you did enough, and a miracle shot happened. And it was, do you view it as a win for the sport? Maybe not for you in this case, but like a win for the sport, which in turn could be a win for you and you know, your brand.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think even 2020, I would say, like in my press conference, that was a world title for the sport of disc golf. You know, we didn't have one as players, but the sport won the world title in 2020, and I think this is, you know, it's a world title for James, but it's also bigger than James at the same time. You know, he threw the shot, but the impact that this shot has is going to be bigger than James Conrad, which is great. So I know even if he hit that shot, I still could have won Worlds, and he still could have gotten all this publicity and stuff like that. So as far as myself, I know if a moment like that ever happens, I still have a chance to win. I need to carry that forward. But yeah, I mean, the World Championship this year was incredible on the competition side, and yeah, James, for now, has the greatest shot in disc golf history.
Ooh, I like that,
Yeah.
Nick. The greatest shot in disc golf history. Oh, for now.
Yeah, for now. I mean, something else could potentially happen. Who knows? A 244-foot throw in at the World Championships could happen, and then there you go. There's the greatest one now. No, anyways, Paul, we really appreciate you coming down actually live in studio. I know I appreciate that a ton, and we wish you the best of luck, obviously, in your future tournaments and everything like that. But we'll let you get back. You got a little bit more daylight. You know, go enjoy your car for a little bit, and you know, we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Appreciate it, guys. Take care, and check out the PaulMcBethFoundation.org if you can help. It's much appreciated.
Be on the lookout for those new shirts that he's wearing, the new hat and everything like that. You can also support it by buying some beef jerky. I'll tell you this barbecue one is absolutely delicious.
Awesome.